This video is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but it's the video that I wish I heard before figuring out how to generate real revenue as an editor, as a creative. So my idea with this video is I'm basically going to just pull back the curtain and show you how I've earned 6 figures a year as an editor, as a creative content creator, anywhere between around 16 to 25,000 a month, so that you can hopefully be able to find some gems within here that you can take away and apply for yourself and start implementing right away. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is don't be an editor who cuts, be a filmmaker who edits. So when you're an editor who edits, what you're doing is you're limiting yourself, because when you're a filmmaker, you also have to be an editor, but now you're just an editor who has more creative awareness. And this is extremely valuable to have as an editor. Most editors think that clients pay them just to cut clips, just to throw on some animations, but that's completely wrong. Clients pay you for story. They pay for emotion. They pay for retention and results. This is exactly what Eric, he's a YouTuber with 16 million subscribers in the entertainment niche. He reached out to me on Instagram. And what he said was exactly for my storytelling ability. In fact, just to prove to you how powerful this is, I will literally show you. When Eric DM'd me on Instagram, he literally said, I'm a huge fan. I'm looking for some storyteller editors like you who understand YouTube storytelling, right? And he's not the only big creator who's reached out to me specifically about that. And it's because when you approach editing like a filmmaker with an eye for pacing, for tension, for payoff, for storytelling, human psychology, suddenly, you're not just a service provider on Fiverr. You are an artist who has leverage. You are a creative director. You're a story architect, right? And leverage means you can charge more money. Now, with that being said, there's something that we all probably know if you're watching this, which is editing is considered a commoditized skill. But the reason that you watching this are also feeling that commoditization is because deep down you believe it. But the second you change your identity, the way you see yourself, and then act in accordance to that belief system, you're no longer the same as every other editor who believes that they're a commoditized service who are selling their services on Fiverr. I like to think about it this way. If you're just cutting clips and taking out mistakes, you're replaceable. AI has already been able to replace you if that's you. But if you're crafting stories, if you're an editor who thinks like a filmmaker, you're indispensable. You can create leverage through that. One of the things I forgot to mention is I'm going to put in the link below, a link to go to a Google form, because I've been working on what I think is going to be the best program to ever exist in regards to editing for editors. That being said, though, I want your guys' help. I'm not going to launch it until January 1st of 2026, so like 4 months. I want to hear from you guys to know if it's worth something, even going as deep as I am into it. And I want you guys to help me craft it to be as valuable for all of you as possible. So I put together a really quick form. It'll take you 2 minutes maximum to fill out, and it'll give me all the insight I need in order to make a program that I already know is amazing, but to make it even more amazing. Click the link below to actually go fill that form out, and it will help me make an amazing product for all of you. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, which was a big shift for me, is in how you present yourself as an editor, because the way most people do this is the reason they aren't getting work. And I'm sorry if this ruffles some feathers, but stop thinking like an editor to run your creative business. It makes zero sense. Instead, what you should be doing is think like an entrepreneur, and then think like an editor or creative when you're editing or doing creative work, not when you're scaling or running your business. There's something too I want to say here. The definition of crazy is doing what everyone else does and expecting different results from it. Or maybe I think it was a definition of insane. Either way, that being said, if that's a definition of crazy or insane, why would you be doing the same thing that every other editor who's not making money is doing and thinking that it's gonna make you miraculously more money? What I mean by that is in terms of your portfolio. Every editor is using Canva, Google Drive, or a plain old website. I have 2 different channels with over 20,000 subscribers each, and I get probably 10 to 20 editors emailing me every single day asking to work for me. And I ignore 99% of them because of 2 reasons. 1, because of how they approach me, and 2, because of how they position themselves. Now, before I talk about the approach part of this, I first want to talk about something way more important in my opinion, which is how you are positioning or presenting yourself. As I said, so many editors are using Canva, Google Drive, come on, or websites to show their work. And I know because I get links to editors' work every single day in my email inbox. But if instead of looking at what other editors are doing, copying them, and assuming or somehow for some insane reason thinking that we're gonna be the ones who scale up and make a ton of money, instead, what if we look at how high-earning entrepreneurs, the millionaires, the big companies, how they're positioning themselves? Because when we look at them, the commonality between them is they all have an audience who has a problem, and they package the solution in a streamlined, engaging, and professional way. See, 90% of successful entrepreneurs are doing this by using something called a sales funnel. Now, I've worked with several millionaires in the creative space and creators with millions of subscribers, generating massive amounts of revenue. I've personally spent over 15 grand in mentorship, and I even work for an extremely talented entrepreneur making over $250,000 a month, Max Pearson. And every single one of them use and have told me to use a sales funnel. And no, a sales funnel is not a website. A website is a place where people can see your work and browse around with a weak call to action. It's basically designed just for awareness and then they click off. Whereas a funnel, sales funnel, is a psychology-based and crafted design that takes your potential client through a journey. And when they complete that journey, they should be wanting to take action on whatever your CTA, your call to action or offer is. So if I quickly break this down, what a funnel is made up of is basically a scrollable page. However, inside that scrollable page, you have the headline. In the headline, and this should say who you help and what you do. This should have the pain point that you solve for your specific niche. Then underneath that, you should have a subheading. And the subheading should provide more context to the headline, making sure you interweave the pain points that your ICP, ideal client profile, will have and your solution to solving that pain for them. And then directly underneath that, you should have a VSL, which is a video sales letter, which is basically a video explaining who you serve, the pain points they have, and how you solve their problem, and then the results they get by working with you very clearly. And you want to make sure that you articulate this well in the video. And inside that VSL, show off your editing as well. Right below the VSL on the sales funnel, you want a call to action button. So this could be to book a call with you. This could be just to buy right now if it's like a service, a tiered service for editing, or it can be to apply. Go through an application, right? You name it. The call to actions could be whatever you want it to be. But after this, you can really put whatever you want in the funnel. You could put an about you section, testimonials of clients you've worked with. But at the foundation of it all, you just need what I mentioned as your lifeline, as your foundation of the sales funnel. And if you're wondering how to build all of this, I actually have been speaking with a sales funnel builder called Go High Level, and they're the most famous sales funnel builder on the market right now. And we agreed to partner together in a way that can provide you guys, every single one of you watching, with a ton of value. So with Go High Level, which is, again, by far the most popular place to build out sales funnels, they typically only give you 14-day free trials when you sign up with them. But after working out a deal for you, for all of you, they agreed to allow me to give everyone watching this video a 30-day free trial, which is way more than enough time to build out a funnel and start using it to actually get clients. And to make this even easier for you guys, when you sign up with my link below this video, which is the link that you need to sign up with in order to get the 30-day free trial, you'll get complete access when you sign up for the free trial sent to you to my custom editorsOS sales funnel, meaning you will basically get my pre-built sales funnel template that I use for editing services for you to be able to just change a few things out, and then you can use it yourself so that you can have a completely built out, optimized, tested, and proven to convert sales funnel in literally less than a day. And when you sign up for that 30-day free trial with the link below, you'll also get access to my custom editing AI GPT that is trained in everything I talk about in terms of storytelling and using human psychology and leveraging that to create better edits. So with that being said, stop blending in and start optimizing your art form, your skill for conversions, the conversions that you deserve, because when you edit on an elevated level, it's not easy. And while it is rewarding, it's also super time consuming. It's hard work. And that just means editors need to get paid better for that work. Now, this brings me to my last point of this video, and really the third thing that took me from broke editor to high earning creative entrepreneur. Again, let's look at all of the success that others have and reverse engineer it. And when we do, we see they all have tangibility, meaning results that they can tie to their craft or to their offer. Now, with video editing, we can guarantee only a very limited amount of things, which is why it's way better to position yourself as a story architect or a creative consultant or creative partner, whatever you want to call it. The whole thesis of this approach is basically at its core, you offer editing. And then you offer the next layer of this, which is your version of implementation. So your service skill. So as an expert in a specific thing, for example, maybe it's storytelling, maybe your thing is an expert in animations, whatever it is. And then the next and most important layer in terms of business, not editing, is approaching it in terms of what impact or likely result your edit will achieve or bring to the client. And if we really break this down, what I've seen is people want an editor for quite a few reasons, but the main two are usually one, to improve their perceived reputation online, and two is to improve video performance. For example, I have at this point viewed the backend analytics on easily over 100 viral videos. And one common thing I've seen on every single one of those viral videos, not one of those videos had less than 30% retention on the YouTube video. Now, the reason for this is YouTube wants to keep people on their platform for longer. So if your CTR or your click-through rate is good, you have, let's say, good impressions, but you have a low retention percentage, then your video will only go so far because you're not keeping people on the platform for long enough. So YouTube's not incentivized to push your content. Versus having good retention, YouTube will be more incentivized to push your content. And when creators' content does better, they typically earn more money. And if you as the editor can directly contribute to the increase in retention, because editing is one of the biggest players in this metric, then you can tie your skill to a tangible return on investment. In short, when it comes to your client communication, don't just be an editor. Act like a creative entrepreneur, a creative consultant, or a creative partner. For example, I was recently working on a project with Tyler Blanchard, and when we got on an onboarding call, just going over everything, I was asking a lot of probing questions. I wasn't asking about certain effects or things that editors normally ask for when I was on this call before starting this edit. Instead, I was asking the lead editor, I was asking him, can we pull up the analytics for his last few videos? Can I look at the retention graphs? Can I look at the retention percentages? At which point was there drop off? Can we watch those parts? And what this did for me was it gave me an edge, because now I know going into it what to cut out, what works well, what increases retention versus decreases it on average. So all of this to say, I know there are so many people online talking about how to make a certain amount editing. And honestly, a lot of it's fluff. A lot of it just, it's trendy. What actually works at the end of the day is I'm always talking about how you should be thinking and approaching everything as an editor who focuses on story and psychology, but inside of the edit and the creative process. When it comes to the business side of things, you should be running your editing business no differently than you would a different business. You should be running it like a creative entrepreneur. Meaning you should be thinking like an entrepreneur. You should be reverse engineering what works for others and then implement that into your editing business. It is no different. It is literally no different. And when I started doing this, and I only started to realize this through reading a ton of books and investing in mentorship, but as I started to do this, I realized that there are really wealthy people who will pay a lot of money for editing because they care more about working with an editor who knows how to position himself and who thinks like they do, and then interjects that or transcends that thought process into their content. And then in addition to that, adds amazing storytelling and who understands psychological editing and implementing that into their content. The reason I attract such high net worth creators or high net worth entrepreneurs is because what you need to understand is a lot of these entrepreneurs or individuals, they also are obsessed with psychology. They just don't talk about it because they don't want to let loose their secrets. But I've worked with a lot of, I kid you not, multiple millionaires in the business space. All of them use psychological principles in the way they market their stuff. Every single one of them. Some of them don't talk about it, some of them do, right? So when I use that, when they see that I talk about that and use that within my content creation, yeah, it attracts their attention. And then when they see that I not only implement that within my edits, but I also implement the psychological principles inside of my sales funnel and have a sales funnel and actually come across like a real entrepreneur with a real service, they're automatically ready to pay more and they're automatically more attracted to you. So those are the three main things or lessons that I've learned that I wish I knew years ago without me holding anything back here that actually makes a big difference. I hope this was helpful. I was trying to come across here in a very no fluff way and just sharing like 3 real steps or pillars or really lessons that I wish I could go back and tell myself when I started. So I hope this was helpful. Remember, guys, I'm rooting for you. I would love to hear in the comments if any of these work for you. And also don't forget to go below and get your free trial for Go High Level and get the funnel template and go create your own funnel and get out there and start standing out from the other commoditized editors, because this is an industry, this is a skill, an art form that shouldn't be commoditized. With that being said, guys, I'll see you in the next one.